A couple of days ago, we talked about the fact that President Trump made New York get rid of their new tax that they like to call congesting pricing. This was obviously a good thing, but of course, the New York governor, Kathy Hochul, threw a whole entire tantrum and is now demanding that the federal government pay New York $15 billion. And this is to supposedly fix the subway system because the fees that have been implemented would have fixed the subway or something like that. But as we talked about in the original video when this first happened, the state has so much money in taxes that they do not need an additional resource and money to fix the problems that they already have. Turning to California for a moment, a federal judge in San Francisco is trying to stop the Trump administration's mass firing of federal workers, ruling them, quote, likely unlawful. Of course, the unions are happy about this decision, but the fact remains. Trump is the head of the executive branch of government. He is fully allowed to fire and hire whoever he wants to be within that branch of government. And all of the judges who want to overstep their power should and will be held accountable. How about the economy? Well, on February 27th, 2025, a bunch of info was released with the internal jobless claims, 242,000, durable good orders, forecast 2% higher, GDP second reading 2.3%, and pending home sales forecast is negative 1.2%. These numbers gave a mixed picture with labor and housing soft spots under Trump's early tenure. Steady but warning signs of the Fed's possibly easing interest rates again, leading us to February 28th, 2025. We had a data dump of stats about how the economy is doing. This led to personal income rising about 0.9%, but spending falling 0.2%. The good trade deficit is hitting a record $153.3 billion, and Chicago PMI dropped to 45.5 from its December 50. These figures, income strength, spending caution, trade imbalance, and manufacturing weakness set the stage for heated policy debates. Trump's team was celebrating the income gains while grappling with trade and industrial challenges, fueling discussions on tariff, tax cuts, or deregulation as the week closed to make sure that the economy keeps going great. Interest rates might increase this year with a 40% chance, driven by the trade deficit and 2.5% PCE inflation signaling upside risks. If the Treasury Department does increase rates though, expect a hike of 4.5% to 4.75% around September 17th to the 18th, 2025. Once tariff effects, the summer data confirm inflammatory pressure without sharper inflation, example 3% higher year over year, or a spending rebound, the Fed might likely hold or cut slightly. As markets predict, it's a toss-up, but the data tilts toward tighter policy if Trump's plans hit hard. Now, turning our attention to New York, Kevin Elkins, political director of the NYC Carpenters Union, locked in a senior role in Andrew Cuomo's mayoral campaign, just as the union endorsed Cuomo's run against Eric Adams. Of course, Cuomo could not embarrass himself enough during COVID, so he wants to go and run a second time. Of course, this is exactly what happens in politics. Elkins is set to steer a labor-first strategy as Cuomo gears up to announce his candidacy any day now. The House also voted on a few bills on February 17th, including H-Con Resolution 14, also known as the FY 2025 Budget Resolution. Here's the breakdown. Starting with tax cuts, which instructs the House Ways and Means Committee to find ways to cut taxes by $4.5 trillion over the next 10 years. This also includes extending the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs provisions, set to expire at the end of the year. This mandates that at least $1.5 trillion in federal spending reductions over the next decade, with a higher target of $2 trillion to unlock the full tax cut package. The specific tax cuts that they want are not specific yet, but the energy and commerce, where it's taxed with finding $880 billion in savings, which is easy to do considering that we have so many people that are dead and still getting checks on Social Security. This also mandates that food stamps cut $230 billion, which again is very easy because so many people on food stamps don't actually need it and could just easily work. Of course, there is people that abuse the system and people that need the system. There's a huge difference there. We cannot forget about the debt limit increase of $4 trillion, of course, and last but not least, this makes sure that it boosts funding for Trump's agenda term, like more resources for deportations, military defense, domestic energy production, and aiming to reduce regulatory barriers, slashing non-defense spending, and H.R. 472, the Restore VA Accountability Act, to streamline VA discipline, both passed with tight GOP majorities, setting Trump's agenda in motion and ensuring that he keeps his campaign promises. Also, the media is talking about something called the February 2025 North American Storm Complex, similar to the North American storm that hit in 1993, which killed almost 300 people. Last month's storms killed 30 people, which is still a tragedy. Some of these storms hit the Midwest with snow and ice, the Southeast Mid-South with tornadoes and floods, and Northeast with snow and surges. The Great Plains were hit with blizzards from February 24th to the 27th, affecting 50 to 60 million people with outages and disruptions and around $2.5 billion in damages. Of course, with every single disaster, Congress needs to vote for relief, even though we just gave $110 billion for 2024 disasters in December, but you know exactly how FEMA uses our money. Turning our attention to Europe and France, the Wilmer Plus Summit took place on February 27th to the 28th. President Macron of France and President Zelensky tackled Ukraine's security guarantees, pushing for robust aid and a strong negotiating stance against Russia's war amid tensions with Trump's approach, which I like because if you do not like the deal that you have with America, then you can go to a European country and get funding through them instead. This brings us to Trump's promise that if you F around, you will find out. On February 27th through the 28th, airstrikes in Puntland by UAE hit ISIS, and they destroyed caves, destroyed weapons and vehicles, and killed dozens. Somalia's stability is not very good because of the fact that they want to turn themselves into a terrorist playing field. Because of this, they cannot blame the United States for trying to combat terrorism across the globe, especially with ISIS literally in your backyard. Last but not least, over the weekend, Southwest Airlines laid off 1,700 employees, targeting 15% of its corporate workforce, with 11 senior leaders and 1,700 others across departments like hospitality, culture, technology, general corporate overhead. The cuts, announced on February 17 and detailed by late February, spared frontline staff and focused on Dallas' 626 jobs and other corporate hubs, sparking economic and political waves as the week of February 27th through March 1st closed. This marked a historic shift for an airline once known for avoiding layoffs. Again, if we do have any updates on anything that I did talk about, then I will update you guys as soon as I have that info. Thank you all for watching, thank you all for listening, and I hope they have a great rest of your day. Also, if you have been noticing that we have not been uploading much on this channel, I've been trying to structure my channel a little bit differently by finding out exactly what we should exactly do here. I've been focusing on releasing short form videos over on our TikTok profile. If you do want to follow that, it'll be linked down below, on our Instagram and our X profile. So if you do want to follow those, it will be linked down below. We will start uploading full-length videos on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So if you do want to join us for that, subscribe and turn post notifications on so you are the first to know about anything politically that is happening in the United States or anything that affects the United States. We will also be covering those.